Forget those trendy kale smoothies and pricey quinoa bowls for a moment. What if I told you that the real secret to vibrant health and incredible resilience isn't a modern fad, but lies hidden in plain sight, in ancient plants that once held the power to save entire civilizations? Imagine a time before gleaming laboratories and prescriptive supplements, a time when survival depended on a profound instinctual understanding of the natural world. Medieval farmers, monks, and village healers weren't just growing food, they were cultivating botanical powerhouses, plants so potent they were prescribed by physicians cloaked in mystery, protected by the iron fist of royal decrees, and nurtured in monastery gardens by those who believed these green allies held divine healing power. These weren't merely sustenance, they were concentrated medicine, a form of currency capable of ransoming knights and indispensable tools for survival, all intricately woven into the fabric of daily life. Some possessed a bitterness that could make a grown man wince, a testament to their potent compounds. Others were so extraordinarily valuable they could settle debts or secure a noble's favor. A select few were even whispered to possess the mystical ability to ward off the creeping dread of plague and the unseen menace of evil spirits. And here's the truly astonishing part. The secret that might just change how you look at the world around you. Many of these forgotten superfoods, these champions of resilience, are still thriving, often dismissed as common weeds, perhaps even flourishing untamed in your own backyard or a nearby park, patiently waiting for a new generation to unlock their ancient secrets. Today, at Stellar Eureka, we're embarking on a remarkable journey. We're stepping back through the mists of time, into the storm-lashed coastal gardens where salt spray kissed hardy leaves, into the tranquil, foggy plots cultivated within monastery walls, and into the humble yet vital cottage yards where these extraordinary plants were the unsung heroes of daily existence. Prepare to be astonished as we unveil the 10 most forgotten superfoods that medieval farmers, our ancestors, relied upon for their very lives. And the thrilling news is, you can cultivate these botanical treasures too, bringing a piece of living history and potent well-being right into your own life. Deep within the serene, often shadowy and meticulously kept corners of medieval monastery gardens, a truly remarkable plant unfurled towards the heavens. Angelica, with its imposing stature and almost otherworldly presence, grew so tall and uniquely formed that it ignited the imaginations of those who tended it, leading to the widespread belief that it was a divine gift, delivered to humanity by angels themselves. Picture this: robust, hollow green stalks, sometimes reaching an astonishing 6 feet in height, crowned by magnificent umbrella-shaped clusters of delicate flowers. These blooms would cast strange, ethereal silhouettes in the lingering dawn mist or the fading light of dusk, making Angelica far more than just another herb in the medicinal arsenal. In the collective consciousness of medieval Europe, it was a botanical sentinel, a powerful shield standing defiant against the perceived forces of darkness and disease. When the terrifying shadow of the Black Death swept across the land, decimating villages and leaving cities gripped by fear, the root of the Angelica plant became a commodity more precious than gold. From learned physicians and devout monks to the common folk desperately seeking protection, pieces of Angelica root were carried in small pouches, worn around the neck as amulets. The deeply aromatic oils emanating from the root were believed to possess the power to purify the plague-infected air, a fragrant barrier against an invisible enemy. Indeed, the entire plant, from its uniquely licorice-scented roots to its juniper-like seeds, was considered sacred medicine, a holy panacea. But this reverence for Angelica wasn't rooted solely in superstition. Modern scientific analysis has revealed that Angelica contains furocumarins and other potent compounds that possess genuine antibacterial and antiviral properties, validating the intuitive wisdom of our ancestors. Monks, the skilled herbalists of their time, painstakingly distilled its essence into powerful digestive tonics used to settle troubled stomachs and combat fevers. Herbalists, drawing on generations of knowledge, prescribed it for a wide array of ailments, from debilitating respiratory infections that threatened life in damp, cold winters to the aching discomfort of painful joints. And for a touch of rare sweetness in a harsh world, the plant's hollow stems, when carefully candied in honey or sugar, transformed into luxurious aromatic treats. These delicacies were often reserved for the tables of nobility and for special celebrations, consumed not just for their delightful flavor, but with the earnest belief that they could extend life itself. Even today, if you walk through a craft distillery, you'll likely find angelica root steeping patiently in spirits, its ancient, almost magical powers now artfully captured in the complex botanical profiles of modern gins and liqueurs. This once sacred plant, a testament to nature's pharmacy, still grows with an undeniable otherworldly presence, and astonishingly, a single seed planted in your garden can unleash this medieval marvel, allowing it to grace your space with its history and healing potential for years to come. Venturing from the cultivated order of monastery gardens into the dappled light of nearby shadowy woodland glades, another plant of devastating beauty and profound deadliness thrived. Often found carpeting the forest floor in spring, lily of the valley, with its gracefully arching stems adorned with delicate bell-shaped white flowers, exuded a sweet, almost intoxicating perfume that could fill the air with its enchanting fragrance. Yet, this innocent appearance masked a potent secret, making it perhaps the most paradoxical plant in the entire medieval pharmacopoeia. Here was a substance so virulently poisonous it could swiftly stop a human heart. Yet, in the skilled hands of an experienced healer, it was a respected medicine prescribed to strengthen that very same organ when it faltered. This profound duality, this knife-edge balance between potent remedy and deadly toxin, made lily of the valley a subject of both intense fascination and considerable fear throughout the medieval period. Monks, aware of its dangerous nature, cultivated it with extreme care within the protected confines of their medicinal gardens. They harvested its delicate flowers with gloved hands, a necessary precaution, and dried them in separate designated rooms, far away from any herbs intended for culinary use, to prevent accidental contamination. In the possession of a skilled apothecary who understood the precise, minute dosages required, lily of the valley became a lifesaver, a powerful ally against certain ailments. However, in the hands of the untrained, the careless, or indeed the malicious, it could become an instrument of swift, often untraceable death. Court poisoners lurking in the shadows of power were undoubtedly aware of its lethal potential, just as village healers understood its capacity for healing, creating a strange, almost democratic equality where the same humble plant could serve the highest echelons of nobility and the poorest, most vulnerable peasants. Known poetically by monastery herbalists as the ladder to heaven, this enchanting woodland flower contains powerful cardiac glycosides. These are compounds so strikingly similar in their action to modern heart medications like digitalis that medieval physicians, without the benefit of modern chemistry, were unknowingly pioneering the field of cardiology. They prescribed carefully measured, often perilously small, doses for conditions such as dropsy, what we now recognize as congestive heart failure, and to regulate irregular heartbeats. The margin between a healing dose and a fatal one was perilously thin. A single extra leaf, a slight miscalculation in preparation, could tragically transform medicine into murder. Today, when you encounter lily of the valley, perhaps in a garden center or a spring bouquet, it's often sold without prominent warning labels, its deadly secrets largely locked away in forgotten ancient herbals. Those delicate, fragrant white bells that so beautifully decorate spring gardens once held the profound power of life and death, residing quietly within the humble medieval medicine cabinets. Unlike the subtle charms of more delicate healing herbs, horseradish announced its medicinal presence with an almost brute force, a fiery kick that left no doubt of its potency. This pungent, unassuming root was, in essence, medieval Europe's equivalent of a sledgehammer, a powerful intervention deployed when gentler methods had failed and a more robust, direct approach was urgently needed. Its formidable power lies dormant within its structure, contained in volatile compounds that remain inactive and unnoticeable until the root itself is damaged or broken. Medieval farmers and healers knew from experience that an intact horseradish root had little discernible effect. It needed to be crushed, grated, or bruised to truly unleash its full, formidable potential. The resulting paste, once prepared, generated a heat so intense it could visibly redden the skin upon contact, forcibly open congested airways, and bring stinging tears to the eyes, effects that medieval healers interpreted as irrefutable signs of the body vigorously purging itself of illness and impurities. During the long, damp, and often harsh European winters, when respiratory infections like pneumonia and bronchitis frequently threatened life, crushed horseradish became an essential and widely relied upon medicine. A poultice of this powerful root, packed generously onto the chest, was used to break stubborn fevers and loosen deep-seated congestion in the lungs, providing almost immediate, palpable relief to the sufferer. Its utility wasn't confined to medicinal applications. Mixed with vinegar, its pungent compounds acted as a surprisingly effective preservative, helping to keep meat from spoiling in an age utterly devoid of refrigeration. Even the nobility, with their access to expensive and exotic imported spices from distant lands, held a healthy respect for horseradish's remarkable ability to cut through the richness of their elaborate meals and significantly aid digestion, preventing the discomfort that often followed lavish feasts. If you decide to plant horseradish once in your garden, be prepared for a lifelong companion, a fact that delights some gardeners with its tenacity and utterly terrifies others with its almost unstoppable spreading habit. This irrepressible root can break through tough, compacted soil that would defeat most other cultivated plants, serving as a living, breathing reminder of medieval resilience. It connects us directly to our ancestors, who relied on its fierce, unwavering power to see them through countless challenging seasons and harsh, unforgiving winters. It's a curious thought that arguably the most overlooked, yet profoundly effective superfood in all of medieval history might very well be growing unnoticed in your driveway, peeking defiantly between the cracks in the pavement, or along the edges of your garden path right at this very moment. Broadleaf plantain, a plant so ubiquitous and common that it often fades into the background, becoming virtually invisible to the modern eye, earned the esteemed and telling title Mother of Herbs within the rich healing traditions that spanned across medieval Europe. This humble, low-growing plant, characterized by its distinctive rosette of broad leaves, possesses an extraordinary ability to thrive in conditions where little else will grow, tenaciously establishing itself even between tightly packed cobblestones and in heavily trampled paths where constant foot traffic would deter more delicate species. In an era when castle physicians and learned apothecaries often charged considerable sums, sometimes their weight in gold, for their services and elaborate concoctions, plantain offered readily available, free medicine for the common folk, the backbone of medieval society. Its broad leaves, when simply crushed or chewed and applied directly to wounds, cuts, and abrasions, release potent compounds, notably allantoin and aucubine. Modern science has confirmed that these substances possess remarkable properties. They effectively reduce inflammation, act as an astringent to stop bleeding, and significantly accelerate the body's natural healing processes. For medieval farmers, who routinely worked with sharp, unforgiving tools and lived in close proximity to often unpredictable farm animals, a readily available handful of these unassuming leaves could mean the critical difference between a minor, treatable injury and a festering, potentially life-threatening infection. But the intrinsic value of plantain extended far beyond its remarkable capacity for wound care. Its tiny seeds, which bear a striking resemblance in their properties to modern psyllium husks, provided powerful digestive support and were a go-to treatment for troublesome diarrheal diseases, a common and dangerous affliction in those times. Furthermore, the young, tender leaves offered a nutritional profile comparable to cultivated spinach, providing essential vitamins and minerals, and were available for foraging even in the most downtrodden, trampled pathways where little else edible could be found. The entire plant, from root to leaf to seed, could be brewed into a soothing tea, a common remedy for respiratory complaints, especially when more expensive, imported remedies were well beyond the reach of ordinary people. For these myriad reasons and its constant reliable presence, plantain earned affectionate and descriptive nicknames such as soldier's herb, alluding to its use on battlefields, and healer's step, a charming reference to the folk belief that it seemed to spring up miraculously wherever healers frequently walked, as if marking their benevolent paths. The challenging, often perilous weeks nestled between the definitive end of winter's harsh grip and the first joyful bounty of spring's new growth were once grimly referred to as the hunger gap. This was a dangerous and precarious time for medieval communities, a period when stored food supplies from the previous harvest inevitably dwindled to alarmingly low levels, and the newly sown crops were not yet mature enough to provide sustenance. It was into this critical breach that chickweed, a delicate, unassuming plant adorned with tiny, star-shaped white flowers, emerged as a true lifesaver, often making the crucial difference between starvation and survival for many. Unlike numerous other wild plants that required careful, often laborious preparation to render them edible or to remove toxins, chickweed possessed the invaluable quality of being ready to eat immediately upon gathering. Its surprisingly mild, slightly sweet, and pleasant flavor made it palatable even to young children, who were often the most vulnerable during times of scarcity. Medieval women, the primary foragers and providers of daily meals, would collect it diligently by the basketful, incorporating it generously into pottages, stews, and even breads, skillfully using it to stretch their limited and precious flour supplies further. Nutritionally, chickweed was a powerhouse, exceptionally high in vital nutrients such as vitamin C, iron, calcium, and magnesium. It provided precisely the vitamins and minerals that were likely to be depleted after months of a restricted and monotonous winter diet, helping to ward off deficiency diseases like scurvy. Beyond its crucial nutritional contributions, this unassuming, almost humble plant earned a respected place in the medicine chests of monastery apothecaries, primarily for its remarkable and highly effective cooling properties. When applied externally as a healing wrap, commonly known as a poultice, fresh chickweed provided soothing relief for a variety of inflammations, burns, and irritating skin conditions. Its expressed juice was also used as a gentle remedy for eye complaints and was administered internally to help reduce fevers. These traditional applications find surprising support in modern scientific findings, which indicate that the plant contains natural anti-inflammatory compounds, validating the empirical observations of medieval healers. During devastating famine years, historical records and anecdotal evidence suggest that villages with ready access to abundant chickweed patches had measurably lower death rates compared to those without. Its timely appearance in early spring was considered so critically important that medieval foraging calendars and almanacs specifically tracked its emergence, often marking it as the official and hopeful end of the dreaded hunger moon period. It's a poignant irony that while medieval peasants would have gratefully and meticulously gathered every last stem of this life-sustaining plant, most modern gardeners, unaware of its historical significance and nutritional value, instinctively reach for weed killer to eradicate it from their manicured lawns and flower beds. The story of einkorn wheat presents a profound and somewhat unsettling irony that cuts deep into our modern agricultural narrative. Our so-called improved contemporary wheat varieties, while engineered for higher yields and greater caloric output, often provide significantly less comprehensive nutrition per serving when compared to their ancient ancestor. What medieval farmers understood instinctively through generations of observation and reliance, we are only now beginning to rediscover and appreciate through rigorous scientific analysis. Ancient foods frequently outperform their modern, heavily modified counterparts in terms of nutritional density and overall benefit to human health. Einkorn wheat, a truly venerable grain that nourished humanity for well over 10,000 years, continued to hold its hallowed ground in medieval fields long after newer, higher-yielding wheat varieties began to gain prominence and dominate agricultural landscapes. What made einkorn so exceptionally special wasn't its sheer abundance per acre, but its inherent rugged resilience. Its remarkably deep root system and natural robust disease resistance meant it could thrive in poor marginal soils where other crops would falter, withstand prolonged periods of drought that would devastate lesser grains, and resist the fungal blights and rusts that regularly and catastrophically decimated medieval harvests. In an age when widespread crop failure directly translated to devastating famine and widespread starvation, einkorn's unwavering reliability made it an invaluable asset, a grain worth preserving at all costs. The grain itself, when analyzed, proves to be nutritionally superior in almost every significant category. It boasts approximately 30% more protein than modern wheat, contains higher levels of beneficial lutein, crucial for eye health, and offers more abundant quantities of essential minerals like iron, potassium, and zinc. Its distinctive, rich, nutty flavor and beautiful golden hue produced hearty, satisfying breads that sustained laborers through long, arduous workdays, providing slow-release energy and vital nutrients. Perhaps most importantly, from a modern health perspective, einkorn's genetic simplicity, possessing just 14 chromosomes compared to the complex 42 chromosomes found in modern bred wheat, made it inherently more digestible for many people and potentially less inflammatory, offering a gentler alternative for those sensitive to contemporary wheat products. So valued was this ancient grain that in remote, often isolated mountain villages, medieval alpine communities meticulously maintained special communal fields dedicated exclusively to the cultivation of einkorn. These fields were often protected by local laws and customs, strictly prohibiting their conversion to other, perhaps more immediately profitable crops. These einkorn fields represented a profound form of food security in an often unpredictable and challenging world, a deep-seated agricultural wisdom that we are only now, in the face of modern nutritional challenges, beginning to truly understand and reappreciate. The simple yet haunting question, what if, echoes through the corridors of agricultural history, particularly when scholars study the fascinating case of the ground bean. This remarkable North American superfood represents one of history's most intriguing and poignant might-have-beens, a culinary and nutritional path largely untaken by European agriculture. Introduced to Europe through the very early, often tentative, transatlantic contacts that predated widespread colonization, this vigorous climbing vine, which produces strings of highly protein-rich tubers, briefly captured the discerning attention of forward-thinking medieval naturalists and innovative monastery gardeners. Each ground bean vine has the potential to produce numerous small, starchy tubers, resembling a string of beads underground. These tubers are nutritional dynamos, containing up to an astonishing 17% protein, a figure nearly 3 times that of the common potato, along with a healthy profile of complex carbohydrates, dietary fiber, and various beneficial plant compounds. For medieval peasants, who were perpetually struggling to secure adequate protein sources in their daily diet, the ground bean offered a level of concentrated nutrition that few other readily available crops could even begin to match. Even more remarkably, and unbeknownst to medieval cultivators in scientific terms, each ground bean plant actively improved the quality of the soil in which it grew through the process of nitrogen fixation. This crucial ecological benefit, a concept not scientifically understood or articulated until centuries later, was nonetheless recognized by observant, practical farmers who noted the improved fertility of land where ground beans had been cultivated. Surviving records from experimental monastery plantings in Europe reveal that early growers were genuinely impressed by the plant's surprising productivity. They noted with interest that a single, well-established vine could yield dozens of nutritious tubers without appearing to deplete the soil, a stark contrast to many other cultivated crops of the era. The flavor of these tubers, often described in historical accounts as pleasantly nutty and reminiscent of both bean and chestnut, made them a versatile and welcome addition in the medieval kitchen. They were particularly valued during Lenten periods, when religious observances strictly forbade the consumption of animal products, offering a satisfying and protein-rich alternative. One cannot help but imagine the profound impact if this climbing, self-fertilizing, protein-packed powerhouse had widely replaced or even significantly supplemented the potato in European fields centuries ago. History might have unfolded very differently, potentially fewer devastating famines, better nourished populations leading to increased overall health and vitality, and consequently, perhaps even stronger collective resistance to epidemic diseases. Instead, for reasons lost to the complexities of history and agricultural trends, the ground bean largely receded into obscurity in Europe. It's a sobering thought that Native American communities, who could and did sustain themselves almost entirely on this incredibly versatile plant during harsh winters, might well wonder at our collective forgetfulness of such a profoundly valuable and life-sustaining food source. In our modern age, where billions are spent annually on sophisticated anti-anxiety medications, it's a striking irony that a gentle, fragrant herb, once valued enough to warrant a royal decree for its cultivation, often grows neglected and unappreciated in forgotten garden corners. Lemon balm, known affectionately in medieval times by evocative names such as honey leaf, due to its bee-attracting qualities, or heart's delight, for its reputed effects on mood, held a truly special and revered place within the comprehensive healing traditions of the era. It was considered the preeminent herb capable of mending both the weary body and the troubled spirit. So essential and highly regarded was this fragrant citrus-scented plant that the influential Emperor Charlemagne himself, in the early 9th century, issued an edict ordering it to be planted in all imperial gardens across his vast domain, a testament to its recognized importance. Medieval physicians prized lemon balm as a cordial, a specific category of remedy believed to physically strengthen the heart and metaphorically lift the spirits, dispelling melancholy and promoting a sense of well-being. The renowned 12th century abbess, mystic and herbalist Hildegard of Bingen, a towering figure in medieval medicine, eloquently described lemon balm as capable of making the heart merry and joyful when brewed and consumed as a simple tea. This was an early intuitive recognition of what modern scientific research now tentatively confirms as mild anxiolytic, anxiety-reducing, and mood-elevating properties inherent in the plant's chemical makeup. Beyond these significant psychological and emotional benefits, lemon balm served a host of practical medicinal purposes in everyday medieval life, making it a staple in household apothecaries. Its natural antiviral compounds, which we can identify today, made it an effective topical treatment against the troublesome and often painful cold sores and herpes outbreaks that could periodically sweep through closely knit communities. Furthermore, the herb's gentle sedative effect was found to be helpful in combating insomnia, offering a natural path to restful sleep without the strong, often debilitating side effects associated with more powerful contemporary sleep remedies. Its inherently pleasant, lemony taste was another significant advantage, meaning it could be easily administered to children and the elderly who might otherwise resist or react poorly to stronger, more bitter-tasting medicines. The plant's official Latin botanical name, Melissa officinalis, beautifully encapsulates its historical significance. Melissa is derived from the Greek word for bee, referencing its strong attractiveness to honeybees, while officinalis denotes its official recognized status in medieval apothecaries and dispensaries. Astute monastery beekeepers would deliberately plant lemon balm near their hives, not only to encourage their bees to return consistently, but also with the belief that it improved the quality and quantity of the honey produced, thereby creating a wonderfully self-sustaining cycle where the bees pollinated the herb, ensuring its propagation, while the herb in turn supported the apiary's productivity. It's no wonder that medieval manuscripts frequently referred to it as heart's delight and prescribed it for ailments described as melancholy vapors, conditions we now readily recognize and categorize as depression and anxiety. The very fabric of medieval Europe was, quite literally, held together by the versatile and indispensable flax plant. Its influence permeated society, from the sturdy sailcloth that billowed in the wind, powering naval exploration and vital trade routes, to the delicate yet durable linen pages that meticulously preserved precious knowledge within the beautifully illuminated manuscripts created in monastic scriptoriums. Yet, beyond its absolutely crucial role in the production of textiles that clothed populations and equipped armies, the tiny seeds of the flax plant served as one of the most nutritionally complete and accessible foods available during that era. These unassuming seeds offered a remarkable trifecta of protein, dietary fiber, and essential fatty acids, centuries before these specific nutrients were even identified, named, or fully understood by science. Growing flax successfully required considerable skill, patience, and precise timing from the medieval farmer. It was typically sown densely in fields to encourage the growth of tall, straight stalks with minimal branching, a characteristic ideal for producing long, strong fibers suitable for spinning into linen thread. The harvesting process for flax was also carefully managed and could be undertaken in two distinct ways, depending on the primary desired outcome. If high-quality fiber was the priority, the plants were painstakingly pulled up by the roots just as the lower leaves began to yellow. Alternatively, if the seeds were needed for food, medicine, or for next year's sowing, the crop was allowed to mature further before being grain harvested. The small, golden brown flax seeds themselves were tiny nutritional powerhouses, containing omega-3 fatty acids in concentrations that were virtually unmatched by any other commonly available plant-based food source at the time. In regions where access to fish, another rich source of omega-3s, was scarce, prohibitively expensive for the common people, or restricted by geography, flax seeds provided these essential fats. We now know these fats are crucial for healthy brain development, cognitive function, and possess powerful anti-inflammatory properties that can help reduce systemic inflammation throughout the body. Medieval physicians, operating without the benefit of modern biochemistry, couldn't articulate the precise mechanisms at play, but they keenly observed the positive effects. Consequently, they prescribed ground flax seeds for a wide array of common ailments, from soothing painful joint inflammation and alleviating dry, irritated skin conditions to relieving the discomfort of constipation thanks to its high fiber content. So intrinsically valuable was this multifaceted crop that medieval tax records clearly show flax in its processed fiber form was often accepted as a legitimate form of currency. Peasants could fulfill their feudal obligations by providing measured quantities of flax fiber instead of scarce coins. Recognizing its strategic importance, Emperor Charlemagne famously ordered every royal farm throughout his empire to cultivate flax, declaring it essential to both the military power of his realm, for sails and ropes, and the overall public health of his subjects. The fleeting beauty of the delicate blue flowers that carpeted flax fields for just a few days each summer also captured the medieval imagination, often inspiring religious symbolism and frequently being associated in medieval artwork with the serene blue robes of the Virgin Mary. The transformation is truly remarkable. A plant widely feared and avoided for its immediate painful sting becomes a nutritional savior and a potent medicinal ally when simply processed with heat or drying. This inherent duality, the experience of initial pain followed by profound nourishment and healing, all derived from the very same source, made stinging nettle a powerful and frequently invoked metaphor in medieval thought and religious writings. Monastery texts, for example, often compared the nettle's challenging nature to life's inevitable hardships, difficult, even painful, to grasp initially, but ultimately offering strength, resilience, and spiritual growth to those who persevered. For both peasants struggling for daily sustenance and nobles seeking remedies for their ailments, this ubiquitous weed found thriving in disturbed soils and along pathways, served as both a readily available medicine chest and a vital, life-sustaining food source. This was especially true during the dangerous spring hunger gap when other food reserves were depleted. The fearsome sting that modern gardeners diligently try to avoid was paradoxically considered medicinal in medieval times. The practice of deliberate urtication, lightly brushing fresh nettles across arthritic joints or areas suffering from poor circulation, created a counter-irritant effect. This process increased blood flow to the affected area, which in turn was believed to reduce deeper, more chronic pain and inflammation. When food was particularly scarce, as it often was in the early spring months, nettles became an indispensable survival staple. Young, tender spring shoots, always harvested with gloved hands to avoid the sting, were cooked much like spinach and provided a crucial infusion of vital nutrition after the dietary restrictions and monotony of a long winter. The plant's nutrient content is truly extraordinary, even by modern standards. It contains more iron than spinach, a higher concentration of calcium than milk, and remarkably, provides complete protein, meaning it contains all the essential amino acids necessary for human health. Beyond its significant contributions to food and medicine, nettles served a surprising array of practical functions in medieval households. The tough stems contain strong fibers, similar in quality to those found in flax or hemp, which were used for making cordage, fishing nets, and even rough, durable textiles for everyday clothing. The deep green juice extracted from the leaves produced a surprisingly color-fast natural dye, used for imparting rich green hues to wool and linen fabrics. Even medieval armor makers, skilled craftsmen in their own right, were known to maintain nettle patches specifically for the purpose of polishing metal. The high silica content in the leaves created a fine, natural abrasive polish that could bring a knight's armor to a brilliant, mirror-like shine, preparing him for parade or battle. Our final medieval superfood, with a name that sounds more like a benevolent and well-loved monarch than a humble garden vegetable, was indeed a kingly provider for the common folk. Good King Henry, affectionately known as the poor man's asparagus throughout medieval Europe, played a crucial role in supplementing diets with essential nutrients. Archaeological digs at the sites of long-abandoned medieval villages have unearthed a fascinating testament to its resilience. Patches of Good King Henry have been found still growing vigorously near the foundations of deserted homes, sometimes more than 500 years after the original settlements were abandoned, a living legacy of its remarkable persistence and ability to thrive with minimal human intervention. The true genius of this hardy perennial vegetable lies in its unique capacity to offer a three-part harvest from a single, established plant, providing sustenance across different seasons. In early spring, tender young shoots would emerge from the soil when little else was yet growing. These could be harvested and prepared much like asparagus, offering a welcome taste of fresh greenery after the long winter. Later in the season, as the plant matured, its distinctive arrow-shaped leaves offered nutritious, spinach-like greens that could be picked repeatedly throughout the summer months. By autumn, if the flower spikes were allowed to mature, the tiny black seeds could be collected, dried, and ground into a nutritious flour, offering a valuable source of starch. This made Good King Henry a rare example of a European plant that could provide starchy sustenance, leafy greens, and early vegetable shoots, all from the same resilient rootstock. Once established in a garden or allotment, Good King Henry required almost no ongoing maintenance, a significant boon for time-pressed medieval peasants. It faithfully returned year after year without the need for replanting, demonstrating a remarkable tolerance for poor soil conditions and an ability to thrive even in partial shade where other vegetables might struggle. Furthermore, it exhibited a natural resistance to most common garden pests and diseases, further reducing the labor required for its cultivation. This inherent self-sufficiency and reliability made it such a valuable asset that medieval land contracts and property deeds sometimes specifically mentioned existing patches of Good King Henry as significant property assets, their presence adding tangible value to a piece of land. Nutritionally, good King Henry provided exceptional levels of vital micronutrients, including iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C. These were precisely the nutrients most likely to be lacking in the standard medieval diet, which often consisted heavily of bread, porridge, and other grain-based staples. While the nobility might have feasted on rich meats and expensive imported delicacies, this unassuming yet profoundly generous plant quietly and consistently sustained generations of common folk, offering maximum nutrition with minimal care and effort. These remarkable plants weren't the product of careful selective breeding in sophisticated laboratories, nor were they exotic imports from distant, sun-drenched lands. They were, at their core, resilient survivors, hardy opportunists that thrived in the often unforgiving margins of a harsh and demanding world. From heart-stopping poisons that, through careful understanding, were transformed into life-saving medicines, to common weeds that possessed the power to save entire villages from the brink of starvation. Each of these botanical treasures tells a powerful and compelling story of medieval ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a deep, symbiotic relationship with the natural world. What's truly remarkable isn't just their impressive nutritional profiles,